welcome the resource person of today's workshop, Dr. Dinesh, Assistant Professor, CMR Business School, Jain, deemed to be University. Here's a brief introduction of the resource person. Dr. Dinesh sir has done his master's in HR from Pondicherry University, master's in labor management from Madurai Kamaraj University, MCom in marketing from Madurai Kamaraj University, and has done his PhD in HRM in Bhartiyar University. He has more than 10 years of experience in industry and more than 14 years of experience in teaching. So having academic and industrial blend is a unique quality. In 2005, he joined ICFI College as visiting faculty, and later in 2008, he joined PES University and has worked for 10 years and 8 months. Since August 2018, Sir is working in CMR Business School as assistant professor. Sir has authored 6 textbooks for BCom and BBM students of Bangalore University and has also published 15 research papers in international and national journals. He has made 10 conference presentations and attended more than 40 faculty development workshops. He is a member of International Journal of Creative Research Thoughts and is a member of various universities as Board of Studies and Board of Examiners. He is known as the best HR and international business faculty and is considered as a valuable asset to the entire teaching fraternity. On behalf of Government Ramnarayan Chilaram College of Commerce and Management, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to welcome our beloved principal, Professor Lakshman Kulgod, sir, who is the chief mentor and motivator behind all academic activities in the college. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I also welcome Professor Sachida Bopaya, madam, MCom F&A coordinators for this workshop. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I also welcome Dr. Aijaz Ahmad Khan, sir, MBA coordinators for this workshop. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Dr. Prahalad Chaudhary, sir, MCom coordinator and IQAC coordinators for this workshop. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
I welcome Dr. K. Jayalakshmamma, madam, RC Research Center coordinator, and Dr. Shweta Kalmat, madam, librarian for this workshop. Welcome you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the organizing team of this workshop, I welcome all the teaching faculty members come project guides for this workshop. I welcome you all. And finally, I welcome all the students of MCom, MCom F&A, and MBA to this workshop. Welcome you all. I thank the organizing team for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash, and personally, I welcome you also for this session. Now, I request Dr. Dinesh sir to take over this session. I request all the participants, especially the students, to put your questions in chat box so that they can be answered at the end of the session by the resource person and other the faculties who are attending this session. Now, I request sir to take over this.
So you can make me a co-host.
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I request you to admit also.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'll take care of it. I'll take care. I'll take care.
Okay, now you are the host, sir.
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. So, good afternoon, the fellow colleagues of RC Government College, my good friends, and welcome, my dear students. It's important to welcome you all for the session, which we are doing it with the great factors. I can tell that we have to be physically present to understand us better, but pandemic has made us to connect virtually across the globe. Wherever we are connected together, we are united together to have a good education and to have a good spirit of learning and to enrich our knowledge. I thank the opportunity given by RC College to deliver a talk on how to do a research project and how it might benefit the students by enhancing the knowledge through learned skills which are equipped in your day-to-day learning in a practical way. To add on to this, it's very much important to understand how we deal with our project and how we go with our study with respect to our studies that we carry on. When you look towards this particular thing, project-based learning, this is a title that was being discussed, and we have debated a lot on this, why this title should be there for the students and what important the student is going to get when they have this particular title as they study. As you people are aware that you have to do your project work. That is a part and parcel of your learning curve in university. But beyond that, there is something very much importance of doing a project work. How it helps you to enhance your learning curve and how it helps us to build a career path. Extended part of this, when you're looking towards it, how to write a project research paper and its importance in student career. When you're looking towards this, this is very much important sentence to be looked in. Why we have to write a project research report and how important the student career is. My dear friends, probably by another couple of months, you will be request Hema madam to unmute yourself. Thank you. So this is very much important to understand how research reporters and how it will be important for the student career. A couple of minutes I'll be taking to you to understand by doing this research, what is that the student is going to gain and how much is the student is going to gain the knowledge from this. Important aspect towards looking into it is what are all the job opportunities that are there and how are we going to link. You might be surprised why I've been running with this slide rather than talking on the project. This is very much important from the student's perspective point of view to understand by doing the project, not only you're enhancing your knowledge, but you're also trying to focus upon your career oriented, how you need to expand your employability skills. Some of the career options that are there for students when you are looking for your project that you do, where exactly you'll be placed with, and the different types of corporates that comes for hiring you people. Particularly when you look towards it, the finance students from MBA domain, the difference of job opening that you can look into it is distractions.
Yes, sir. Please make mute, sir. You make mute of all the participants and unmute yourself. You make mute all.
Thanks.
We will look into the design details and what are all the things we need to consider on our design since we'll get it next session. And before we start the next session, that is tomorrow, I request all of you to have with you so that we can do the calculations, because this subject itself is something we have most of the part is numerical example we have to keep on solving, and I want you to have a book for it so that you can solve the things.
It's not possible to happen.
To have your calculators and everything ready with you once we start with the thing process. If you have the hard copy, it is most appreciated, but if you don't have the hard copy, make sure you have this soft copy in some other device so that while
Class
notebook so IS 800 is must.
Sir, make me co-host.
Class on the calculator
Steel table or SP6 is also okay.
Sir, make me co-host.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
I got you.
We'll discuss about it in the next class onwards. We'll start the design. So if you have any doubts, you can discuss it with me now, or feel free to text me WhatsApp or Teams group.
Okay, sir.
Hope there are no doubts. All right. Thank you all for attending.
Option.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Only one option I have. Okay, I muted it. Fine, class. Apology for the delay that is there because of technical hang that happened. Yeah, I was talking about the project that you're doing into it. See, doing the project for the sake of marks is different, but doing the project for the sake of your career enhancement is very much important, and focusing towards a career goal is important. By doing this project, not only are going to look into getting your knowledge, you'll also be enhanced how you will be seeing yourself in the corporate for the next 30-35 years that you'll be in the corporate life. For the finance student under the MBA scheme, the type of job openings that you'll be getting in is accounting manager, credit manager specialist, financial analyst, uh, investing sales trades and associates. Likewise, different kinds of job profiles that will be there for a finance student and for MCOM student also. By selecting the right kind of topic and doing your research study, there is a project and trying to equip it. This are some of the openings that you'll be getting into it, like corporate finance, investment banking, portfolio management, risk management, financial planning, and commercial banking. These are some of the areas where you will be wetting your hands and you'll be expertise in working in corporate sector. Why this advantage for you is, as a freshers who are passing out from the graduating from the university, when you're going for an interview, the first simple question they ask you is, tell me something about yourself and tell me something about your project that you did in your dissertation study. It's very clear that you need to have enhanced knowledge about your project and the type of job that you're going to link with. Precisely, I'll be covering the entire chapters of your project, how you are going to take, how it's important for a student to focus upon it, and what is that the student is going to understand or learn from this learning curve. The main objective of our topic today is to provide an overview of how to write chapters for dissertation or a project. When you're writing a thesis or a report, how a report has to be written, what exactly the report should consist, it's very much important from the student's point of view. When you're looking towards your dissertation or a project work that provides an outline, it should be like a story that you define. But think a dissertation is an interesting story that you are told. As a PG students, you need to put it as the storytelling where the evidence, systematic inquiry, and the method that you argue. During a writing project, you should also narrate it like a story, adopting the mindset of choose the structure sooner than later that you're working with. Already I started with work. By this point of time, you would have done a several amount of work that is there relating to project work. The basic important thing in your project is the introduction chapters of the first session of your set introductory chapters that you do with. So in introductory chapters, when you're looking towards it, why I have to choose? What is that the topic that I'm going to look in? How am I going to place my topic to a better way people understand it and I can present it well in front of panel? Introduction part of it, you need to give brief introduction about your research topic, what you're going to do through an abstract, which is of 200 to 300 words with 4 to 5 key important words that are there into an abstract. Abstract is completely giving a brief about what's the study that you're taken, what you're going to convey through the study, and how the study is going to benefit to the society at large. And choosing a topic is also very much important. What kind of a topic that you're going to choose, and how are you going to define your topic and defend your topic. Theoretical background of the study is very much important. What is the preliminary information that you're going to collect to the topic that you're going to present, and industry profile where you're going to do your project and how you're going to deliver your project to the best out of resource. When you're looking towards it, there are various creative ways where an individual can look in presenting your topic or introducing the chapters. As I told you, a chapter should go like a story where the audience or the reader should know and understand what's the importance of a topic. As a commerce and management students, you will be doing in the area of finance, and you'll be doing in the area of accounts, or you'll be doing in the area of marketing or human resource. The story is how we began to search the landscape. According to Mig He, 1998, University of Toronto, he has clearly defined when you're writing a project, it should be a story narrated. There should be a link, and they should have a value to it when you're doing it. That is, we need to look in from incidental to identity. The missing links of debate has to be shaped well in your project. This is something, introduction of all discipline, most candidates use this as a title. When you're framing a title should be catchy. Advantage of this is you will have an edge compared to your friends when you are submitting your report. Not only submitting a report, you can also present your report in various conference or seminars that you attend with. And as an advantage of it further, when you're looking towards it, the basic importance of any good research dissertation is your abstract. Abstract should not exceed more than 5 keywords, including the title of your topic. It should not be more than 26 letters, and it should be between 8 to 10 words. That is a beautiful frame of framing a title for your research topic. Mandatory, it should have heading and disclosure of the dissertation and subtitles, different order within the opening of chapter. When you're writing a chapter, you should be very clear that what is the chapter that you're going to write and how are you going to define your research topic. That is the background of chapters. The background of chapters is you will be writing an introduction, a review of literature and research design. This is very, very important from the student point of view and the academic point of view, because it fetches 40% of your result-oriented marks in this. Then the profile of the company that you're going to select with data analysis and interpretation. This is a key vast area for any researcher to do with. And the last is we get the results out of it and we try to write our results. What is the result that we are going to get? It's very much important for any researcher when he's doing the topic. He has to have his own way of approach toward the study, because there is a plagiarism check. The university has also defined it very clearly. The plagiarism check will be done either by Turnitin or by Urkund, according to the university has specified the plagiarism check software tool that we are going to use it to look validation of your research study. This is something which is very interesting, my dear students, which we call it as signature style. This is a bit common that we talk. What is that you have unique in your study? What is that you're going to contribute to the knowledge? And how are you going to contribute to your report that makes? See, 20% of thing only contributes towards your learning, but 80% of your learning gives enhanced skill when you are using it in a realistic term. This is something interesting. I'll be starting with the basic form, that is content of your report. So content of your report is something, how are you going to write your introductory topic? What is that you're going to give in an introduction? But before to do this, you had to have a prior research. Prior research is important to know how are we going to write a topic. Ongoing researches, already people have been doing the research. We need to enhance that thing. Contemporary development is what is that the new norms that you're going to bring into your research. This is something very interesting that we look in from your researchers. How are you going to develop a research that will help to the society and for the people who are there? And the historical content is the past. You would have referred some of the theses to do your study, and the new norms of finance and accounting post COVID-19. What are the changes that is happening in corporate and what's new norms that is there? This is something, the key highlight we expect you people to bring into your reality check. 1 second, please. Hello, sir, good afternoon. Sir, 1 minute, I'll call you, sir, in meeting, sir. Thank you, sorry. When you're looking towards it, how are we going to take it up, and what's important for every individual to understand the particular aspect? This is very much important for any framework that you do in a research is comparative framework. Comparative framework is whatever the past reference that you take to do your study, we need to have a discussion on it, and probably you might have had a discussion with your professors when you're doing the study, the similarities of the topic, which is that please avoid taking the similarities of the topic. But if you're taking similarities, bring something unique into it. That is the differences that you keep in. Similarities and differences should have a value to it, where it tries to provide a good learning platform and people try to extract that learning into a productive way. First, important foremost for any good research that you start with the chapter 1 is industry profile. In industry profile, it's very much important to highlight the key aspects of industry, where it came from, what it appears to, and the typical details about the industry and its financial data. As a finance student, it's very much important for you people to know or wet your hands to understand the financial data of a company, how they are doing and what exactly they are going with. There are certain 4 or 5 aspects that you need to focus while writing your industry framework. One is the history of company. When did it start? What is the type of industry? And what is the evolution of industry and what type of product that they're having, but the users, the people surrounding to it, application for the society and for the industry and for the future of the industry, how they try to grow. Technologies, what is the new technology that they are using into the organization? It might be an automation or a machine learning or artificial intelligence, which are used in industry to decode or encode the new form of industry which are being using the technology. Apart from it, the participants who are all the part of industry, how they are going to get the broader benefit of it, and what as a researcher you are going to focus is how this industry can enhance your learning curve better to you. Outlook is how you are going to look in the future course of industry for your personal growth and acceptance. And why I'm telling this very much important as a students to understand industry framework is, if at all you're aware of industry policy really good, if your research is come good, there is a possibility that the company will take you for a placement. They might take you for a job which they'll be offering to you. Company profile is the second part that in your chapter which you are going to do. In company profile, a detailed professional summary of business and its activities you have to give. Professional summary is what is the company's takeaway, what is the best resources that they have, what are the best practices that the company has, with you need to highlight more on it. A company profile gives something like a bread for any individual researcher to know what is that your thesis talks about or your dissertation talks about. A company profile will have the raise of capital, windows of investors who are there, the stakeholders, clients, and the other members associated with the company, which gives detail right from the origin of the company that started till date, how the company has grown. Apart from it, the other details has to be written into it as the company contact details, the business administrative contact information. Strategy of the company is very much important. In strategy, it's clear that as a researcher, you should know what is the vision statement and the mission statement of company. Without understanding the mission and vision statement of the company, you cannot understand what the company is all about. It's important to know what is that the future plan, what is that they have the goal towards it, how they are focusing towards positive growth. There's something interesting to look in how introduction has to be looked in, taking further towards understanding it. Continuation of this further when you're looking towards it in the second chapter, this is a very, very key important aspect as a researcher when you're doing into it, that is literature review. A brief to talk about what is a literature review, why we do literature review, what's the importance of doing a literature review. Literature review is something we talk about the past, somebody has done a study, we try to take their information, we try to review on it, and we give our thoughts in current scenario and trying to tell that they have something positivity development in the process. A detailed literature review is a study which we need to take in why it is important and how it is important. According to University of Wisconsin Writing Center, they have clearly specified critical analysis of segment published a body of knowledge or the summary of research study reviews the literature, theoretical articles, and other informations that we look into it. My dear friends, the key important aspects of literature review when you are doing it, this is very, very much important. From where do you extract the sources? How do you extract the sources? Tell me what the research says is the theoretical information. In theoretical information, we try to look at the various aspects what researchers are given their thoughts. And very much important for us is the capture that we need to look into this, the methodology of study that they carried out. This will help us to understand what are the various tools that they are used and how they are taken up the study, what is the result of their study. By understanding the result of their study and the methodology of tools that they are used, we can identify what is the gap in their study. That is the next level that you take in your research, taking that gap, identifying fillers, what you can further expand the study and bring into a realistic. Research is a continuous development. Your project, seniors would have done it, would have referred it as a referral. What the gap they are left into it in the current context, what are you going to fill the gap? That is very much important as a research when you are doing it in your study. When you are doing it, this is something important for a researcher. Before doing a research, you need to do a homework. You have to refer a lot of books. It might be a textbook, a reference book, or an encyclopedia. It might be a search engine operation where you take it up to find the details. Some of the reference that you do is journals. Good articles that are published in journal has to be referred, and the reports, especially for a finance student, a report is very much important where you extract the financial statements. It might be from the government agencies or it might be from the financial institutes which they publish it. And based on which you are going to take up whatever the inputs that is required for your study, and you try to evaluate it. To evaluate your literature review, three important aspects are very much important, my dear friends. One is to evaluate a review, exploratory review, and instrumental review. You have to bifurcate when you're doing it. Evaluative review, what it is, exploratory review, how to take it, and instrumental review, how to take it up. Exploratory review, when you're looking towards it, it's all about the literature review, which is seek finding out actually exists in academic literatures. The past evidence and the method as they adopted, and research topic which they are done in the subject area which you're choosing with. And apart from it, it also sharpens the focus of identity research questions that remain unanswered in a specific topic. This is a catchy which is there for you in an exploratory review when you're doing it. Apart from it, instrumental review is the type of literature review which seeks to find out some research on highly specific research problem, which you're identifying the gap. That itself will become a research problem where you take it further and you try to reframe your title. And it is not dedicated not to identify the state of current knowledge or to do with certain things. It is to improve your skills in your research. It is to improve your values in your research that you take forward. When you're doing it, it's very much important that you can divide it into two processes. The research for a material or resource, writing a literature review. As per university, you might be looking into it in the second chapter, literature review. At least 10 reviews has to be, review literatures has to be there, articles has to be reviewed, and you have to give the details for our study. What's the review, the purpose of review, literature research procedures, and planning the research work. How and what literature reviews that you are going to take. Any study that you do, at least take last 7 years data for your study. Don't go too old data. It becomes irrelevant for your study. At least 7 years data is holds good to have a best research report writing when you're doing a research study. It's important that purpose of literature review, why literature review is important and why it is important for any researcher when you write. First important is to identify the gap in literature. This is a key important aspect that we try to look in. What is that the person researcher has not done? I will take it up. Finding what other people have done in that particular field. If at all, later I'll be having a Q&A, I'll be telling to you about your topic. When you discuss with me, I'll tell you how to find the gap in your study. Then identify the major works that are done in the study. What are the sentimental works that has been done and how you can take it up, those works for your study. Then we need to look at identifying the main ideas in theoretical background and taking it as a referral for enhancing the goodwill of your study, to take it further to show the relationship between previous study and the current study, what you do and what you're doing with. Literature review will give you a detailed enhance of understanding about the research process. When you're doing the research, there are various stages that we try to look in for a specific review that is indicated as a structure. I'm going a little bit detailed to make you understand why it is important for you to do a research. A steps in research process that you identify is materials that you refer, you collect information from it, gain preliminary background knowledge of it. When you do a study, when you refer a textbook, you get a background knowledge, what is the theoretical information about it. Latest publications that you do, you get knowledge in the field. Previous researchers' topic that you refer to get already done on the subject, which you identify the research gap to avoid duplication. When you're doing something, do it for the society and for your beneficiary. We should avoid the duplications that is there in this study. And apart from it, the formulation of selected problems that you take, whatever the previous study in the field of journals that is there, you try to take it with the research methodology of study, unique techniques you need to adopt in your study. Look into the current financial journals, look into the magazines which are there, or look into the current publications that have been done by various professors in your university itself. Try to understand what's the new norms they have brought into the study. Apart from it, clarify the concepts, knowing measuring techniques. It's very much important. You need to know how to measure, how to validate the study that you're going to read with, and formulating the right kind of hypothesis for the design. Now, this is a key important, my dear friends. In your research topic that you take or a project that you do, you need to frame an hypothesis. Hypothesis gives you the detail about how to take it up, the study, to a next level. Continuation of this, when you're looking towards it, it's important that how do you collect the sources of data? Sources of literature can be collected through primary literature survey, secondary literature, or the tertiary, or the third level of literature survey that we take it up, wherein different literature sources are taken into consideration to do. When you do this particular study, the primary literature source, secondary literature source, and the tertiary literature source of study, extended of this, you are going to do better. When you understand this, will give you a clear idea what is that you should do with the statement of problem. This is something very, very much important. Stating the problem in the research and identifying it. To identify this, you have to do a good literature review, a clear statement of problem, the evidence of support of the problem, and existing trend that is there, and defining the major concepts that are there, and the description form. What are all the probable issues that you are identified? That is a statement of problem. Statement of problem should be clearly defined in a story form, giving with your past reference that you've done through your literature review. And the purpose of study is very much important in the current context. Why are you doing this study? What's the purpose of doing the study? As a researcher, we try to look into it, how much that you have spent your time in doing this, particularly the statement of problem, purpose of study, the research problem, the objective of study in a second module that we do, that gives us clarity how much the student has put effort in doing the research. The purpose of the study is clearly to identify the concepts of idea that you are there in your study. We try to understand what's the conceptual that you're taken, how are you going to build that concept through research problem. The gap that you identify, that you have observed through relevant references, you try to identify a research problem. Based on your research problem, this is something, the flow of idea, which a researcher should understand. The topic that you take, the research problem that you identify, justify the research problem, why have you taken this? Then with proper evidence, the data that you have collected through a literature review, relating the discussion for the audience to understand that this topic is feasible. That's the reason why I have taken this as my research topic. This is the first phase to prove your research, that you are doing a good research and your project has a good validity into it. As stating further, what's important for any researcher to focus upon, or how they think, stating the research problem, identifying the issues such as the research based or research problem, practical problems. Definitely for finance students and account students, you will be having practical problems. What are all the financial issues that is there in our nation, and what's the common pitfall our nation faces with? Based on these issues that you try to identify, you come out with clear factor, that is quantitative purpose of statement. In a single statement, you define the purpose of study, the statement of problem, the central phenomena of your study, and for which identifying it, you'll do qualitative and quantitative data. Definitely our research methodology, which was being taught to you during a class, will be much useful to you to explore, understand, and discover the research issues that are there in your study. Further going into it, I'll not touch on this particular thing. How are you going to frame your questionnaire? This is very much important, my dear friends. While identifying it, some of you might be doing an empirical study. When you're doing an empirical study, you need to have a questionnaire that you're going to take. And based on these central questions that you collect, you need to narrow down and focus what type of the data that you have collected, either through interview or questionnaire-based method, you try to develop it. Developing the questionnaire is also very much important for your study. Reason is to understand what kind of tool that you are going to use, what's the result that you are expected from it, and how are you going to validate your study. Topic, research problem, research question, and specifically you narrow down to research methodology. First, let me just recap it. I did the introduction of the project work that you are going to do about the company profile and industry profile. The second chapter, review of literature. How do you do review of literature? What's the importance of review of literature? How do you collect review of literature? How do you collect the review of literature to identify key parameters? Based on the key parameters that you write, this is a crucial important chapter from the students' learning point of view and the future point of view, my dear friends. In corporates, you're going to work in this area itself. This is a new norm of industry functioning which are there, and how industries really work with. In research methodology, it's very much important to understand. Reedband and Maury research has given systemized effort to gain knowledge is research. Research is an original additional of available knowledge which contributes for future. How future we need to look in and how we take it up for our study. This is something very much important. How do you write an objective? I'm not told in second part of the topic in review of literature, but I'll be adding it in your third part to make you still more precise why objective of a study is very much important. So in objective, 3 objectives are more than enough for your study when you're looking towards it. One is, in your objective, you should know 3 parameters such as like to know why are you doing this study. That is to familiarize the insight into phenomena of the study that you are going to take. Then to analyze what is the study that you are going to do in association with something else which has not been done. And the third one is to examine or to evaluate the hypothesis or the causal relationship between 2. Whether there is a null hypothesis, there's a null hypothesis, whether there's an alternative hypothesis, you try to define it. Your objective has to be framed with the 3 major aspects such as like to know, to analyze, to evaluate, or to examine. If these 3 are clearly defined, your 40% of the research is done. Research analysis will be very easy to do it. In the next phase, that is research methodology. How are you going to do research methodology? A way in which research problems are solved systematically. It's a science wherein we do scientifically putting data and extracting information from those data. And particularly when you're doing a research, it's given by Hudson Maxim, all progress is born of inquiry, doubt about often better than overconfidence. For it to lead to inquiry, or inquiry leads to invention. When you debug too much into it, you will try to invent it. When you're inventing, you come out with your results. This is what you have to do for your study to go better. That is quantitative and qualitative research. What's a quantitative research? What is a qualitative research that you take? Quantitative research refers to use of non-numerical observation to answer why quantitative method data and how these questions are to be evaluated, in which there are 2 things that we take: analytical statement and descriptive statement. In quantitative research, analytical statement is observation. We take about the study, experiment random trials, and we take it up the data. Descriptives, the case studies, and the cross-functional areas of study that we take to analyze it. Same way, as a researcher, when you're doing it, it's important that how do we identify a research problem? Ask yourself one question: where do your interests lies? You should first define to understand your area of interest, and you should do a study that gives you more enthusiasm to take it up further. When you're taking it up further, you try to come out with these kind of questions. Obviously, you would have done this study without your knowledge. You would have got all these questions. What is the study about? What will be the sample design? Why is the study being made? Where will be the study carried out? What techniques of data collection will I be used with? How the data will be analyzed? And finally, we'll be looking into it. Where can the required data be found? If at all you have done a brainstorm in your study, 99.99% student would have got all these doubts in your mind. How am I progressing in my research? This is the answer for this. Important concept related to research designers: dependent and independent variables. So your study, I'll not touch on your research methodology too much because already you would have covered in your theoretical concepts in your class. What is a dependent variable? What is an independent variable? Why it is important to have dependent and independent variable to quantify the values that we take. Like example, weight, height, example, we take with quantitative. Qualitative is the information which is available. We try to take it up to enhance the learning. And other variables, like in independent variables, we try to define the purpose of study termed as extraneous variable or confounding variables that we take. And experimentally, we try to see what are the errors that are there in the variables that we take and try to do it. Continuation of this, we try to look in the control. It's in your hand how to do a research design. Minimize the errors that you do and experiment with a sample testing and try to identify the valid questionnaire is right. A small sample that you do and you try to test questionnaire through experimental group. And treatment of these questions has to be done to test what is the validity that you are getting into it. Definitely, while you are doing a study, you will be having a convex alpha validity that you are trying to identify it. When you're doing a convex alpha validity, it should be about a 0.9 of validity. That means the tested questionnaire is right when you're doing it. That is what your research talks about. Different research design for conveniently described as exploratory research, descriptive research, and hypothesis testing in your research design. Why I'm focusing more on this is what your university is also expecting. The student has to write a good hypothesis to test your study. When you want to do a study, there are a lot of questions that comes to your mind. How to design my sampling? How to select my sampling size? What's the data that I need to have to do my study? Everything depends on the population that you collect. According to Craig and Markin, 1968, the sampling size is 377. Sample size is more than enough to do a good research. As a portion of study, it's important that how do you draw data that you collect from whole universe. You collect it from the population within your region or a locality or an institute or information. If it is a second resource, you try to take up the last 5 years financial statement of the company and you try to analyze the balance sheet. Sampling techniques, when you're looking towards it, this is something theoretically you would have studied: probability sampling. In probability sampling, available members of the population getting selected as sample, and you try to check what is the type of data that you are going to go, whether it is a probability sampling or a non-probability sampling. This is something very interesting, my dear students, to understand what is the sampling techniques, how do we come across which kind of sampling technique to be adopted in my study. Probability sampling is simple, random, systematic, stratified, and cluster. Non-probability methods, which is accidental, convenience, judgmental, and quota sampling. I'll not go depth explaining the theory because already I covered it in a regular session. Non-probability, when you're looking towards it, it's important to choose a sample of unknown. You don't know what's the sample size. You try to choose out of the population, and in non-probability, believe the sample choice is not by chance, by choice you're going to take it, and you come out with your research data validation. That is, how are you going to define? If sampling method is known, you go with random sampling, and how we go with random sampling, whether it is a simple random sampling or a stratified sampling or a snowball sampling, that we try to take it up depending upon the type of study that you take, and identify what is the bias that is there while data information that you collect from these sources. And finally, you draw to a conclusion why we need to go with some of the samples, such as like simple random sampling. There's a common unique across people that do it. This sampling procedure gives a unit of universe opportunity to be selected and better to understand. So how to understand it's important for having a better selection. And in simple sampling, I given us Swati, can you just unmute, madam? Okay, thank you. Systematic sampling is something, a sample selected from random and trying to identify, taking a 50 student as a sample out of 600 students and trying to look at how much is the data validation that you get into it to identify your results, and based on which you try to prove how the data needs to be validated and how the data needs to have its validation process. Stratified sampling is the other sampling method that we identify through stratas, wherein you don't know the population, unknown population, you try to scatter, you try to collect information, and you come out with your results. If there's a huge population, we go with stratified sampling, you collect the sample size and you try to define how the data to be collected. And the other type of sampling that you do is cluster sampling. In cluster, groups are you going to make into the groups, and you're going to try to collect information from 3 different cities or from 3 different industries. Like example, when you're taking 3 different industries, trend analysis, if all you want to do, you do a cluster sampling to identify how the industries are functioning, or if an industry has multiple branches, how the different branches are functioning. To do that, we do a cluster sampling to identify how the validation of industries and the data are available. This is a research process that you carry on. And in your study, this is very much important that the flow goes with. Define a research problem, a review of literatures that you do, identify it, how many literatures that you have done theoretically, and finding the gap, formulating the hypothesis that you formulate based on the gap that you identify, and research design, collection of data that you do. Collection of data is through primary source or secondary source. You try to collect the data, analyze those data, test hypothesis which you have framed in part 3, that is hypothesis. Once your hypothesis is proved, whether it is a null or alternative, then you interpret your results. This is something, the brief to give what basic hypothesis testing is all about. This is very much important, my dear students. Please focus in this null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. In this context, we are looking towards it. According to Fisher index model that we try to look at, hypothesis is tested, rejection under assumption there is a true, that is null hypothesis. In comparative between example I given A and B drug, which is the better that we try to look at, and we try to look at which is an alternative hypothesis for this study. And same way, the null hypothesis generally symbolized as H0, and the alternative hypothesis is referred as, we refer either HA or H1. The null hypothesis has an alternative hypothesis chosen, wherein this will be proved with your results. When you test your results, we try to prove how these hypotheses needs to be taken. There are different types of errors that we try to look in while doing the study, the type 1 error or type 2 error. There's the in-depth that we try to do a research review, the part which we do a research study into it, we try to identify H0 or HA. In H0, correct decisions, we try to accept. Type 1 error, we reject the null hypothesis, we take the alternative hypothesis. If it is a beta error, we do in financial statement this particular thing in the beta error to identify it. Right correct decisions, we try to take in how the financial statements are there in a particular sector. And we try to fix significance value of 90% significance value data that we take correct. That is 5% of the value we try to eliminate it in social science. Ours is a social science study where we take it up and we try to measure hypothesis testing. And the basic of hypothesis we are doing in a conventional range of alpha between 0.01 to 0.1. And the number varies from 0.1 for scientific research, 0.05 significance of 95% significance value for a social science research we calculated. That is, our conback alpha validity should be above 9 score. That is a better score to evaluate your study. This is something, the types of tests that we do in our study. You would have studied theoretically in your class, t-test, z-test, and f-test. Why do we do this test? What is the importance of these tests in our research? It is compulsory for a postgraduate student to do a research to know what are the different types of tests that are there to prove your results. In your undergraduate level, you would have done graphical representation, which we do a bar graph or chart graph to prove our result, to understand how the validation is there. But when you look towards your productive research, we have to do this kind of tests to know your validity. That is the importance of parametric tests that we try to measure is z-test, t-test, and f-test. All these tests are based on assumption normality, that is sources of data that you consider as normally distributed. Normally distributed, you can plot it in the graph once you get the results and you try to test it. And z-test is generally used to compare between two samples of hypothesis, means of population in large sample, or when population variance is unknown. You don't know the population, how much is there between the different region. We try to measure it, the median, mode, and coefficient of correlation will give you the result. This is something, the formula that you put it in Excel, or if you're doing it in SPSS, it automatically gives you the results of study. How are you going to take? And this is very interesting. I think so you would have studied in a preliminary research methodology itself, the t-test. T distribution is considered for judging significance of sample, means of judging between means of two sample. Example, the gender that we try to check in, or we try to check the how much is the population that is there between two different factors. How many male are there? How many female are there? To test it, we go with t-test to identify it, wherein unpaired t-test that we do and compare with the paired comparison. What is the numbers that is there, and we try to arrive the t-test with this form. That is unpaired t-test, a paired t-test. We try to measure what is the population size that is there between male and female respondents. If it is more than two sample size, we go with f-test to measure the value, and we try to further validate it. We go with z-test. We try to evaluate. That is, we try to measure how the test has to be done in a study. The basic important when you're doing this, it's key important to know how are we going to make the study and how are we going to take it up further. This is something, the results that you get. The results that you arrive, you have to write a report, a review of the results that you arrive. That is summary of finding, conclusion, and recommendation. This is a very simple topic to go with, and the weightage for this even is given as a 10% validation for this study. In findings, you try to describe the problem of research design and finding the answer question that is raised. The recommendation that you give it in the paragraph instead of elimination form. Elimination form is the sentence, paragraph points you will not be giving. You will not be giving the sentence form, you will be giving paragraph form for the research problem, that is the finding and the results of hypothesis tested. What is the results that you have got? You are going to present it in your study. The second is you try to look in what is the conclusion that you are going to give. Conclusion is giving a brief detail about a specific issue of the problem that you have found and trying to give detail what is the results that you have got from your study and what is the productivity output of the study that you are going to write in a paragraph, giving detail about what is the learning outcome that you have got from your study. And further that you are going to do is suggestion. In suggestion, probably based on your finding and conclusion, you try to conclude a study. What is the beneficiary to the society? What is the beneficiary to the company? What is the benefit that you have got it? And how are you going to validate your study? your suggestions will be accepted by the company, my dear friends. If at all you are doing a good research study, if your suggestions is really accepted by the company, who knows, tomorrow you might also be observed in the company. This is one of the way where student has to tap or to look into your project work. And when you're doing your further references, it is very much important, your bibliography and reference in you're going to be the detailed about the data such as like your references, which are the sources that are referred, and the references has to be written in APA format. American Psychological Association, 7th edition, you have to write your references. Apart from it, the other references that you are going to quote, referring the previous projects or the dissertation or the journals or the magazines or the referral search engines that you refer, you have to give the details of it to know how the data to be validated or taken further. And let me stop here giving you the detailed information, what exactly you're going to do with your project. I have given you a bird view to understand how are we going to do our research. Probably you would have done your research to the next level, you would have taken into it. Let me understand from your perspective point of view, you have any kind of doubts that you arise with. I'll try to answer your doubts, my dear students. The session is open for the questions.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Sarita from MMFA.
Yes, Sarita, good afternoon.
Sir, you told about the company profile and industry profiles and all, but
Yes,
in case if the student picks up freelance topic, what should we do, sir?
If the student picks a freelance topic, you need to look into the current scenario from which sources that are adopted to do a freelance. What is the type of issue that you are taken with? And you need to look in which are the sources that are referred. If you get some information relating to articles, you have to give the details about the articles, from where have you referred with. The references counts very much important in that case.
Okay, sir. Thank
To
you.
identify that freelance, you would have identified a topic. How did you arrive at the topic? What is the cause and cons for the topic to be identified? From where did you took the sources? Those details has to be given. Then only the validation of your research will come further.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other students?
Any questions from students?
Please, you can ask. I'm here to answer all your queries. I can help you out. And let me make it very clear, my dear friends. If your project has come really good, take it from my side, the company will hire you. That is what my past experience being in corporate as well as industry, I have seen. As a corporate, even I have hired candidates. I used to ask them, tell me something about the project work that you have done. You should be able to define your project in 5 minutes. That's it, not more than that. You should know what's the topic that you have chosen. Definitely, I'll share the PPT for your referral. I'll be sharing it to Prahalad Chaudhary, sir. He'll be sharing with you people.
Okay.
And be precise to understand your research topic very well. What is the type of tools that I use? What is the type of data that I analyze with to know? And common errors, what, Prahalad sir, if you give it 2 minutes time, I can just learn one more information.
Please, sir.
There's one more interesting which I want to show it to the students. The common mistakes what I have seen while students that do in their project is, please avoid this mistake when you're doing it. The details of this is very much important. How do you write? I think so you have this data information sheet which is given to you. Cover page with the title and other details. So the format is there. You can just follow into it. Please follow the order which is specified here. Students misplace this order, and this is also a setback to look in how much interest have you shown into your research. The certificate of originality from the student and the faculty student declaration, guide certificate, company certificate has to be given in acknowledgement. Definitely had to thank the company person, your mentor or any other person that you want to go with. Title of content. Details of 5 chapters has to be clearly specified. Then the list of table and the list of charts that you do. please write correct page numbers and the correct phrase of it. This is the key important aspect to look in. And apart from it, this flow will definitely go, as I told you, the weightage for your research, your data analysis and interpretation will have 40 marks, and your literature review that you choose to do another 30%, almost 70% of your project report, which has validity from your review of literature and research methodology, will give you 70% of mark. That is the main focus area where you will be doing it. And try to focus on this, the chapterizations which has been given to you as a guidelines, please follow it. When you want to do review of literatures, minimum 10 reviews that you have to do to have identified the gap in your study. Then you can easily write a statement of problem, need of study, objective, hypothesis, then sampling, which I told you, how we are going to define a sampling for your study, tools for data collection, then data analysis, what type of tests that you're going to do, and limitations. Definitely you can write what's the limitation because of COVID and other things. You'll be writing the limitations that doesn't matter much for us. And this is the area where we are the focus with data analysis and interpretation. How do you write a data and how do you interpret a data and how do you validate your research? This is the flow, my dear friends. We try to look into it, how precisely you write and how precisely you try to put forth your ideas into your study. Any questions from your end is welcome.
Any other questions?
You can ask. I'll clarify.
One question in chat box.
Yes, sir.
We need to prepare synopsis of our study.
Definitely, sir.
Yes, sir.
Synopsis is something, a brief introductory to your study. How are you going to take it up and what is that you're going to do? Yes, madam.
Judge, sir. Okay, sir, continue, sir.
In synopsis, how the student has to write is, you have to refer some of the areas of project which has been done. Try to identify the research title, discuss with your professor. I have identified this research title. Can I go ahead? They will give you the brief detail about it, how to go about it. Based on that research title, you try to write a brief synopsis is nothing but a 2 or 3 page report just of your research, what you're going to take. That is a bird view to make elaborate research topic that you go with further. And you try to validate your data as and when you discuss with your faculty with the consecutive meetings in relating to your research. My dear friends, you have to run behind your faculties to have a meeting in relating to your research work, then only it will have a concrete shape. That is the part of student to run behind your professors and get your weighted value of your study. Luckily, you have a very good professors here in this RC college where enormous knowledge they have. Some of them are also my gurus who have given me some knowledge out of it. I should thank them.
Yes. Any other questions from students?
Somebody was
A
asking
good
about
beginning
that.
is off done, please. Any questions?
Sir, in the chat box, students have posted, sir.
I just look at it.
How to select samples?
Yes.
Other question.
A sampling is, how do you select sample is based on the type of review of literature that you do. You try to identify the gap from your review of literature. Based on the gap that you identify, you frame a research question. When you frame a research question, you try to look in what kind of a study are you going to go with. Whether it is an empirical conceptual study you are going to do or an empirical study. If you are doing an empirical study, the sample size that we try to take depending upon the population that you define with. According to our research standards that we try to look in, there is a tool that we try to measure. In Indian context, we try to take a raw software that is there, which sample size indicator 377 is enough to validate the data. If you're doing a further research, according to Craig and Markin, 1968, the study gives 377 sample size for social science topic. That's great. If you're doing it in a financial area, definitely you need to have last 5 years balance sheet to analyze the data. Good afternoon, Nejas sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you after a very long time? Happy to see you.
Great, sir. Doing great, sir. Doing great. Thank you. Thanks for inviting us for your session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to see you, and I'm very happy. I met you some 6 or 7 years back in PS.
PS. That's what I told students. Virtually, we are connected across the globe with one simple box.
Any other questions,
any other doubt, students?
Please.
Tell us about plagiarism check. Definitely, plagiarism check. Your university will be having the license versions once you complete your project. Please delete the pages of the references that you are given. Right from the first chapter to the last chapter, five chapters. Give it to your librarian. I believe library madam will be having that software. She will run it and she will give you the plagiarism check. University has prescribed plagiarism check of madam 10%, madam.
20%, sir. 20%. It was 25%. This time they are reduced.
Reduced to 20%. And your results should be less than 20%. If it is more than that, you have to revisit in your project where the plagiarism is there. You have to check and you have to rewrite that particular statement. You have to correct that language and you have to come back to it. So that's the reason when you're doing a study, use your own language. Don't copy paste information which is there available. If you copy paste, definitely plagiarism will be very high. If you write it by yourself, you will not get plagiarism. Believe me, if originality of work is there from the student, it will be less than 4% plagiarism. I have seen students doing less than 4% plagiarism also. Definitely, you can do this. A good learning for you. Kindly give us some suggestions to students regarding time allocation, breakup to complete the project. Definitely, the university would have given you the guidelines to complete the project in 8 weeks time. That is a study time which they are given to you to do. In that 8 weeks time, when you are doing it, try to collect as many as information from the company and industry profile and the data that you take. Once you take that data, you might have roughly another 20 days to write your research topic. And definitely 3 weeks is enough for you to, 3 to 4 weeks is enough for you to write a good research thing and submitting it. Probably it can take 4 weeks. That is almost, I can tell, 60 days from the date of issuing you to do your project work. Ejas, sir?
Yes, sir. Sir, you have anything to deal with Bangalore Central University, sir? Bangalore City University?
Sir, present I am not there. I am with private university now, sir. Now
I know.
It has become a private university now.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, see, we are finding it very hard. Myself and Chaudhary, we discussed on the other day. The university is insisting to go for the organization-based study. In this pandemic, who will allow? Who will allow? And they are saying that they will be giving extra time. Okay, extra time, I don't think so. This is going to end up in this month or next month. I'm sure that they are not going to allow for another 4-5 months. Inside
some of the industries are also allowing students to do SIP work, that is project work, and they are asking them to do virtually from their place itself, sir, where they are engaging. Now 90% production units are not allowing any person to enter in because of the COVID norms.
Correct.
And highly it's impossible for a student to enter into any organization till and when he has some good influence with that organization.
That's right, sir.
And organizations are encouraging students to do, wherein they give permission to sit with them through virtual work.
Yeah, that's they should know how to get into. But
and they train them, sir. They train them. Companies like to add on to this, companies like Goldman Sachs or Pfizer, Water Cooper's House. I'm talking about 8-tier companies where they make people to work from their home and they'll give them some tasks. They have to complete it and they have to be with the mentor who is been working with. Second level companies which are there in and around Bangalore in Pina industrial area, where they have to be in touch with the company people, writing the mails to them and asking them to support them. It's why I'm telling this is, my dear friends, it's very much important. How good are you in your LinkedIn? 90% of the students are LinkedIn, I believe. Your LinkedIn network works a lot. Send a mail request to them that you are doing a project. This is what the expectation from university. Definitely it is encouraging where companies are also providing virtual SIPs. That's one option where the student can look in, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks. That's what they need.
But,
some,
students should be good, strong in their LinkedIn networking or their social networking, sir. Definitely, this will also help them in getting companies. There are companies which are encouraging students to do projects. They can see even companies understand this are mandatory from university to do this. They are also supporting students, sir.
Correct.
Can we make a study on educational sector, example on school education admit COVID? Definitely, madam, you can do and comparative study between universities. It's a big topic, but how far you try to manage your time, I don't know. You should plan it. Is plagiarism check required for synopsis at PG level so that students don't do the same project? But plagiarism check doesn't have anything to do with your topic. If your topic is similarity, the same title, the same company, then the project will not be accepted. If you're having a different title, different approach in the same company, definitely they'll accept, because there are norms that two students can take it up, but not the same. Only thing difference will be there is your research will be different, their research will be different, but nothing to do with synopsis writing. Synopsis writing is your own way of expressing the knowledge. Definitely plagiarism will not come into it. You will not have plagiarism for it. I mean, I have answered to Shobha madam this particular question which she has raised.
So any other questions from students or faculty guides?
Probably there are free version of SPSS software. Please download that and try to experiment, learn into it. You can just take it up, or you can do it through Excel sheet also, where you can do t-test, f-test, and z-test.
Hope the problems and the doubts of students have been addressed by Dr. Dinesh sir. Shall we move on to the next step? I request Professor Lakshman Kulwad sir to say a few words before going for a vote of thanks. And in the meantime, also, if any student have got any doubts, please feel free to ask. Thank you. I request Principal sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Hello.
Yes,
hello.
Namaste.
Okay, sir. Audible, sir. Respected resource person, Dr. Dinesh, Assistant Professor, CMS Business School. No, thank you. Dear coordinators of the IQAC of the college and PG department, research center, workshop coordinator, faculty members, and participant of the program. Today workshop is very successful. Dr. Dinesh sir has given valuable information on project-based learning. He covered all areas, beginning from the introduction of the topic and till the summary of the findings, suggestions, conclusions, etc. So I thank you very much, sir, Dr. Dinesh sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I also thankful to the Dr. Prahlad Chaudhary sir, IQAC coordinator, and also MCOM coordinator, Dr. Ijaz Ahmad, MBA coordinator, Professor Sajta Madam, MCOM F&A workshop coordinator, Research Center, who took more efforts in organizing such a program. So I also thank the faculty members who took part in such program, and also the participants. I request all the participants to make the best use of this program, the information given by the Dr. Dinesh sir. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for information. After a long time, I had an interaction with Kulwad sir also. And my dear friends, I'd like to bring one important thing here. It is not relating to our project or relating to our study. It's a good relationship, I can tell. my own classmate is your professor in your university. We were the classmates. Hemalata, I think so. Hema madam is there. Hema Nagudur.
Yeah,
Hemalata.
thank you. Thank you, Dinesh.
Thank you, Hema. It's nice to see you with your students.
Sir, we have one more question, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think this is asked by Emma madam only.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify to the students about the meaning of gap in the research?
Gap. Research gap. Yes, sir. See, research gap is something that we try to identify. To do the research gap, first of all, you should do a strong literature review in your area of study that you take with. When you're taking up a research study, to take example, I'll take an example of marketing research area itself, consumer perception towards buying of Maruti products that we take about it. When we're taking it, consumer perception and acceptance, when you're looking towards it, you have to take the relevant of that particular research study which is done by the past. Try to collect around 10 to 15 research data and try to study what is that they are done. Based on the study which they are done, you try to identify what is the tool that they use, how the hypothetical statement they use, and also what type of study they are done. Based on that particular study and the current context that you are written with your information, you try to look in what is a new that is there into it. You try to bring about that particular change is a research gap. To add on to this example, I'll take one more example. Pandemic situation has lost employability skills in manufacturing industry. I'll take an example of it. So you have seen what are the reasons for downfall of employment. What are all the issues that is there in relating to employment before pandemic and after pandemic, what issues are there? Understanding between these two, you'll find a research. That is a gap that is there. What is the gap that you are going to take as your title for your study, which has not been done in the previous researcher, which you are going to do as a research gap. I believe I have made it clear to audience.
Sir, one more question in the chat box.
Yes, sir.
What are all the common mistakes or the errors that students should avoid in dissertation? Quickly, sir, quickly.
Yes, sir.
Because there are many such things.
Yes, sir. One thing I would like to tell us, never ever copy a friend's research. That is the first thing you should avoid it, because their research is their study, your research is your study. Don't compare with your friends. Try to compare what is a format that you need to follow and follow according to your study. Then your results will be positive.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a question, sir.
Yes, Madam Sarita, please.
Sir, like what you said is we are not able to get the companies, sir, since it is pandemic. We cannot go out, and like what you said is you can send me emails and all. You can contact through that. Madam. Sir, we have already done it, sir, but they won't respond to it, sir. In such a case, and even if we contact via telephone, they will not respond. And they say that the employees are working from home. In that case, how to approach, sir?
Can you just give me an example? Which company have you approached with?
I approached Thomson Reuters, sir. One is
great.
Thomson Reuters, and the other one is Bitcoin company in Rajaji Nagar.
Can you just tell me what's the title that you're chosen for your research?
Sir, I changed since I didn't get the contacts. I changed it to freelance topic.
Okay. Okay.
Now
at least you would have done some homework to do a research title. What is the title that you have chosen to do a research topic? Can you just tell me the title? No, previously, what have you done?
What's for the title? Thomson Reuters. That is for Thomson Reuters.
No, what is the title that you have chosen? Can you just tell me the title?
Cryptocurrency. It was about cryptocurrencies, sir.
Cryptocurrencies. So when you're looking towards it, first of all, the title when you're taken into it itself is one of the big issues, because India has banned
Sorry, sir.
Bitcoins.
For Thomson Reuters, it was different. This
Bitcoins
is for
has
Bitcoin.
been banned in India. Bitcoins is banned in India. So the data it's still working, but title itself is wrong that you are chosen to do with. Then definitely companies will also face difficulty to encourage it.
Sir, actually, I didn't get. No. This one I tried in Rajaji Nagar, sir. It's in for a Bitcoin company.
Okay, in Rajaji Nagar itself, you find industrial estate, right? Are you aware of this?
Yeah, sir.
There
But
are- there
when
are
I
good
called
number-
up,
There are good number of industries in Rajajinagar Industrial Estate next to Pavitra, next to this Chowdhury's, which are the Shiva Prabha Kalyan Mandapa. Just opposite,
sir.
you'll find MSME Center.
yeah, sir.
MSME Center never tells anyone to come to their center, but they don't allow you inside. The security guard entrance, there will be officers sitting, wherein they could have helped you if you would have approached them. Giving insight to that, I'm a student of postgraduate, I want to do research. Can you just please help me getting good company in and around Rajajinagar with your MSME network content? They would have definitely help you. That is one way of approach. And the other approach is your social medias. I will be sharing my LinkedIn to you people. Get connected with me in LinkedIn. I have more than 6,000 contacts in the LinkedIn where all are there. A good profiling where you can also just have a word and chat with them. Definitely, this will also help you people to be in touch with me.
So thank you, sir.
So mistakes, I don't tell mistakes, it is how you try to look in before taking a topic. You should do some study to identify it. Anything else from the students' point of view? Mr. Kanya?
Sukanya, meet. Sukanya, please mute your audio.
Okay.
Is anything else from students? I think now we have reached the last phase of the session. Now I request Dr. Jayalakshmi K, the co-coordinator of GRCCM Research Center, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to one and all present in this workshop. Myself, Dr. K. Jayalakshmi, feel honored to propose vote of thanks. On behalf of Government Ramnarayan Challaram College, I convey my regards and hearty thanks to Dr. Dinesh, sir, for delivering a talk on how to do a research project and clarified doubts to the students, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I thank our beloved principal, Professor Lakshman Kulgod, sir, for encouraging and supporting to organize this kind of workshops. Thank you very much, sir, principal, sir.
Thank you, madam.
IQAC coordinator, IQAC RC Research Center, PG department jointly organized this workshop. I thank Dr. Prahlad Chowdhury, sir, IQAC coordinator, RC Research Center coordinator also, and MCOM coordinator also. Thank you, Dr. Prahlad Chowdhury, sir.
Thank you, madam.
I thank Professor Sachita C. Bopaya, madam, coordinator of MCOM F&A. I also thank Dr. Azaz Ahmad Khan, sir, MBA coordinator. I thank all the faculty guides of our college, PG department. Thank you, all the faculty guides. I would also like to thank the workshop coordinator, Lieutenant Dr. M. Prakash, sir. Thank you, sir. I thank Dr. Shweta Kalmat, PG librarian, for extending technical support to organize this workshop. Thank you, Shweta, madam. Last but not the least, students are the center point of this workshop. I thank all the 4th semester PG students for getting benefited of this workshop. Thank you, one and all. Stay safe, stay home.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all, and we are winding up this session. Thank you.
I should thank the entire team of RC College for giving me an opportunity to be a part of your team in this session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Prahlad, sir. Thank you, Kulgod, sir, and Sachidan, madam. Thanks a lot. Aja, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Kulgod, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dinesh, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
I will wind up. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.